CoolIT Systems is the industry leader in liquid cooling solutions for data centers, servers, and desktops. Today, we'll be taking you through the steps to prepare and install your rack DCLC CHX80 heat exchanger and manifold module. There are a few requirements to meet before the installation process can begin. Please ensure you have familiarized yourself with the CoolIT site planning guides, operation and maintenance manuals, and installation guides, so the installation process can be completed safely and efficiently. In the installation guide, you will find the pre-installation checklist. Each individual step within the checklist must be completed to guarantee correct installation. Always consider your local safety regulations before beginning installation. For correct installation of your CoolIT heat exchange module, you will need the following requirements: 2 people to assist with the heavy lifting, a box cutter, an electric hand drill, a torque driver, a number 2 Phillips bit, a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, the inline filter with Stobli plug fittings, a 1/2-inch nut driver, and optional IT lift for lifting the heat exchanger. Step 1. Open manifold crate and CHX80 crate. Inspect product for any damage. Remove the lid from both the manifold and heat exchanger crates using your drill and number 2 Phillips bit. Immediately inspect the manifold and heat exchanger for any obvious shipping damage. In the unlikely event that damage is found, you must stop installation and contact CoolIT for further instruction. Finally, review the included package checklist to ensure all parts are accounted for. Step 2. Install CHX80 shelves into the rack. The heat exchanger ships with IT shelf brackets that must be installed into the rack. Install these shelves into the rack with your drill and number 2 Phillips bit. Position the shelves in the bottom or top of the rack, depending on where the heat exchanger is required for operation. Step 3. Install universal manifold mounting brackets. The manifold module requires the outermost PDU mounting location to be available for installation. Remove the PDU mounting bracket, as this is where the manifold module will be mounted. Remove the universal manifold mounting brackets from the crate and install into the rack so they match up to the mounting brackets on the manifolds, using the provided Phillips countersink self-threading screws. Choose the screws that best fit your rack, as 2 types have been provided. Your manufacturer's rack manual will show which screw size is required. Finally, install the J-hook manifold hanger in the highest threaded hole in the universal mounting bracket. Ensure that the hook is curving upwards when in final position. This hook will be used to support the manifold during installation. Step 4. Uncrate and mount manifold modules. Removing the manifold from the crate and installing it into the rack will require 2 people due to the weight and size of the manifold. Locate and remove the bolts securing the manifold to the crate. The next step is to remove the manifold from the crate and move it to the rack. It is very important that the manifold module is not lifted by grabbing the quick disconnects or the automatic air bleed valve. Instead, grab the sides of the manifold or the tubing when moving and installing it. Make sure to replace any quick disconnect covers if they are knocked off. Install the manifold into the rack by hanging the manifold mounting bracket onto the J-hook in the rack. Secure the manifold to the rack with the including hardware and leave the J-hook in place. Ensure all screws have been torqued to 115 inch-pounds before continuing. Step 5. Open air bleed valve on manifold module. Locate the automatic air bleed valve on top of the manifolds. Open the valves to relieve pressure from shipping. Leave them open. Step 6. Equalize CHX80 system pressure to atmospheric pressure. Before removing the heat exchanger from the crate, open the overpressure ball valve and then depress the Schrader valve to vent any excess pressure that may have built up in transit. Step 7. Install the CHX80 onto the mounting shelves. With 2 people, carefully remove the heat exchanger from the crate and slide onto the heat exchanger shelves in the rack. The unit can be carried by grabbing the underside of the unit and grabbing the handles on the front of the faceplate. Once in place on the shelves, secure the heat exchanger faceplate to the rack using the provided hardware. Step 8. Prepare primary supply and return tubing from facility. The heat exchanger is supplied with additional quick disconnects that you must connect to your facility tubing so the facility tubes can connect to the primary side of the heat exchanger. Attach the quick disconnects to the hosing and ensure that the tubing can reach the heat exchanger. As a reminder, the facility side liquid must be filtered to 50 microns before entering the heat exchanger to prevent fouling of quick disconnects and other components. It is also recommended that facility liquid meets the ASHRAE liquid cooling guidelines for Datacom Equipment Centers Section 5.1.2.4. Step 9. Connect primary and secondary connections. You must now connect the manifold tubing and facility tubing to the heat exchanger. Locate the quick disconnects attached to the manifolds and facility tubing, pull back on the quick disconnect collar, and push it onto the corresponding plugs on the heat exchanger. Next, take the facility side connectors and connect them to the heat exchanger. It is important to connect the supply and return lines to the correct positions on the heat exchanger. Note that the facility valve must be opened to allow fluid to travel to the heat exchanger. Step 10. Connect Ethernet network cable and auxiliary cables. Connect all required Ethernet network cables and auxiliary cables to the heat exchanger. This next step may involve your IT group to provide the necessary connections from the network. Step 11. Installing servers. Install all of your liquid-cooled servers into the rack. Ensure that the server tubing can hang freely after installation and is not caught on other servers. Installing the servers from bottom to top will prevent accidentally catching tubing from currently installed servers. Step 12. Connect server modules to manifold module. Connect the color-coded server module quick disconnect plugs to the mating manifold module quick disconnect sockets. Pull back on the manifold socket collar for it to accept the server module plugs. Step 13. Power up your CHX80. Locate the provided power supply cable and plug it into the heat exchanger. Next, plug in the power cable to the desired facility outlet. As soon as power is applied to your unit, it will boot up on its own. You have now completed the CoolIT Systems heat exchanger and manifold installation process. If you have any further questions, please refer to your Operations and Maintenance Manual for more information. If your question is still unanswered, please contact CoolIT Systems Global Support.